In round 12, Ford the mastermind, Hoghousery from the Hogfather, and Saracens just plough on. All of that and lots more in this week's episode of Gallagher Premiership Rugby's The Lowdown. The first episode of The Lowdown, of course, of this year of 2022. So Happy New Year to you all. Happy for Christmas for the other day. Hope you all had a lovely festive period, a New Year celebration period. I hope you all put on some weight. We don't judge, we don't shame, we don't body shame here on The Lowdown. But if you didn't put on weight, and I'm talking a reasonably significant amount of weight, I'm not sure you're my type of person. I'm still at the Boater, one of my favourite old pubs in Bath, overlooking the Wreck. It's just over there, where Bath await their very first win of the season. They won't be getting it this week on this episode. You won't see Bath winning or losing or drawing. More on that later, but I think you probably know the score by now. Now, new year, new me. It's not something I do. It might be something you do. It's something a lot of people do, and rugby players do it too. They like to get new hobbies. They like to kind of reinvent themselves, occupy themselves in different ways. Sort of get away from some of that sort of drilled in, dialed in focus that they have to be about 6.5 days of the week. What do they do in their spare time? Well, Freddie Stewart's got a new hobby. One of the more popular hobbies in rugby, it's coffee. He's been down at the roastery. No doubt in the coming months we're going to see pictures on his Instagram of him trying to do coffee art, and actually it'll be awful. It won't be any good because it takes years to become good at that. Knowing him, actually, it'll probably be world class straight away. Rugby players, of course, too, are normal people. They have friends, they have families, just like you have, just like I have. And they too like to spend time with them over Christmas and New Year when they get the odd day off here or there. So here are some pictures, here's some footage of rugby players actually being normal people. Presents. Christmas and New Year are not all about presents, they're not all about gifts and things, except they are. They're absolutely about that. Christmas is all about presents, receiving presents more than giving them. Let's just all agree on that. And New Year is about receiving presents from the people, the family members and friends you couldn't see over Christmas. That's what I tell my kids. Anyway, it's called parenting. Tom Wood got what some of you might think is a slightly unusual gift. He got a knife, a big, serious looking knife. I mean, it's a thing of beauty if you're into that kind of stuff. It does remind me, actually, Woody has agreed to make a chopping board for my new kitchen. I must get back to him with the dimensions. I'm a bit worried about the price, don't know yet. I'll let you guys know if it's good value or not. But I know Woody reasonably well, lovely guy, hell of a player. Not sure how comfortable I am with him being in possession of that knife. Might ask him not to bring it to my home. Anyway, what's the weirdest gift you got? Let me know. I got some moisturiser, which feels odd. Not something I've used before. Perhaps it's something I need. Felt weird, probably won't use it. Probably throw it out later. Let us know what your weirdest gift was. Before we get into 2022, which we're just about to do, let's have a quick look back at some of the best bits of last year.
He's got some pace as Carl Rowe. Here goes Carl Rowe again. Carl Rowe stepping, going. That is a wonderful individual score.
Stick a red shirt on him, send him to Anfield, kick-offs in a couple of minutes, he'll be all right.
Smith with a long rangy pass, and I tell you what, no one's at home in the acrobatics.
Collier has it now. Oh, Clemps! Will Collier! Oh my goodness me! Bit of footwork, hard to deal with, and he's through, he's away, they won't catch him. Fantastic individual effort. Newcastle is in the way.
Other pass, but clearly his hands and fingers are backwards.
Tries good, mate. Tries good.
Right up with play.
And they're still going. The ball thrown out wide by Freddie Clark, and here's Johnny May from one end of Franklin's Gardens to the other.
Team starting, there's going to be a lot of people asking the question, why not?
Let me deal with it. Please don't deal with it, okay? He's off the pitch now.
Can't help themselves, can
you're
they?
Waterman and ball in the end. Here goes Ragwan, bit of space, broken field, danger, danger. He's away, he's gone. He's that good. Hassel Collins, mind you. Came close, but not close enough.
All good stuff. Let's hope that this year is every bit as thrilling as last year. Right, let's get stuck into the rugby. First of all, we're off down to Devon, Sandy Park, as the Chiefs take on the Bears.
Hill
Some people still call Exeter Chiefs a boring rugby team. They were absolutely flat out, scintillating from the start. Look at this from Jack Knowles, drops it onto the right. I'm reliably informed that Stuart Hogg told him that option was on. O'Flaherty finishes, great work from Hogg. It was a thing of beauty, that try, and no more than Chiefs deserved. They were absolutely electric. Stuart Hogg there undressing John Arfoa. Some people think he's trying to irritate him. I just think John, you know, he's got a great physique, great guy to look at. I think Hoggy wants to see it, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Bristol did some lovely stuff too when the opportunities came. Johan Lloyd, wonderful talent, great to watch. And Fitz Harding, who gets the ball here in a sec, another fantastic player. In the Battle of the Sixes, Dave Ewers won. Fitz Harding's a fantastic player, but Dave Ewers just got more power at this stage. Stuart Hogg was fantastic. How about that from pick-up from Slade and offload? Stop that. And Harry Randall. This was another theme of the day at Sandy Park. Harry Randall's defence. He was nailing people. 7 times his size. Purdy streaking in for the intercept. Of course, there is a lot of skill and a lot of courage in an intercept a lot of the time. It was really well taken, but that is a try that went against the run of play. It has to be said, that kept Bristol in it. Ultimately, this ball from Joe Simmons was a beauty over the top, and Stuart Hogg was fabulous. Best player on the field. I mean, the top 5 best players on the field were Exeter Chiefs. They have gone up a gear. And on social media, I'm not a bot, said this. Awesome performance. We're getting back to our best, obviously a Chiefs fan. Great to see us focus on phase rugby. New East Stand looked lush. It was a record crowd down at Sandy Park. The New East Stand did look lush. The hotel looks nice too. I intend to be having breakfast there once or twice in 2022. I wouldn't disagree with that. I think you look really, really good, Exeter Chiefs. Back to the best, maybe not far off. Really, really sharp. Now, Tim Unwin, who is a Bristol fan, said scrums look a bit of an issue at the moment. They do actually. Even when it's going your way, there's quite a lot of early weight. Feels a bit jumpy, doesn't quite look too settled in that front 5 at the moment. Have been a bit of an issue. Maybe Dave Atwood coming back might steady things up. He's been away for a couple of games. I appreciate grounds are soft, says Tim, but some of the kicking looks pointless as they're being told to kick, as it's easier to defend and get penalties and get position and all that. It's funny you say that, Tim, because Lawrence Dallaglio, when in commentary on the TV, was talking about Bristol offloading and running it from everywhere. So it seems like they sort of can't win, and ultimately if you do kick the ball a lot, some of them are going to look aimless. Chiefs were very happy to have the ball kicked to them at the weekend, I agree. So you think to yourself, well, keep it in hand a bit longer, but then Chiefs were defending quite aggressively too. So on that sort of form, they just are difficult to beat. Right, next up, Gloucester Harlequins up the M5 at King's Own. Lovely bit of field position this for Quins to release some of their heavy artillery. Instead, Luke Northmore puts a really awkward kick in. For Lloyd Evans does a really, really good job. Look at that footwork. Look at that composure, stitching up Joe Marchant. Not many people do that. Reece Samet actually did really well to come back inside. When Meehan gets the ball from Harris here, you think there are too many Quins about. It's game over. It was a nice counter-attack while it lasted. But Geordie Reid, the human missile, is there in time to clear out. Gloucester get the advantage, so you might as well fling it. And fling it they do. Jack Singleton had a really, really good game. Does excellent work to get outside his opposite number, Jack Walker, in the outside channel. And who's going to finish off try of the season? Big Val. Except he dropped it. Poor bloke. Not a Mickey taking tone to my voice. I genuinely feel devastated for that guy. That would have been a hell of a moment. This is Quins setting things up really nicely in midfield. You got Esterhazen, who was colossal, giving it to Dombrandt. This late ball from Kenningham to Northmore is a fantastic ball. It's a great line. Brilliant gas on the outside from Northmore, but those defenders were just sucked in by the 2 big units in midfield. Here's one of them, Esterhazen. What a game he had. He was outrageous. It was like a senior international playing against under-21 internationals. It really was. He looked like a man against boys, and everyone else around him was playing extremely well too. He just looked that much better. What a tackle by Fraser Balmain. Wonderful tackle from the tight head prop to stop Dino Lamb going in the corner with a bit of help from his mates. Really, really good defence, keeping Gloucester in it. In the end, you know, just watch Fraser Balmain. He doesn't know whether to go in. He goes in, he tucks himself in. Danny Kerr knows he's tucked himself in. He felt he had to defend the drive. But as soon as you do that, don't do it, you get criticised for being lazy. Do it, and you leave a space open for the sniper on his birthday, his 43rd birthday. Many happy returns. Cracking game that, really, really good fun to watch. Tom Morris on Twitter said, it's the morning after and I feel chipper and proud. He actually used some Very bad language in his tweet, but I'm not allowed to say that. Didn't take our chances in the first half and we paid the price, but we did create the chances and gave Quins a tough afternoon. Many felt we'd struggle this season, and Skivs is doing a great job. He really is. Gorgeous George. Not just a pretty face. Type 5 Rugby said, huge win for Quins. Had my doubts about them being able to break that Gloucester defence and struggling up front without Marler, but was proven wrong. Esterhuizen was the difference. Ridiculous performance. Absolutely outrageous performance from Andre Esterhuizen and Alex Dombrandt. Yes, in attack, we know they do all that stuff and they're brilliant at that. Esterhuizen is one of the ultimate weapons in the Premiership in attack. It was their defensive work, knocking people around, nicking ball on the floor, slowing ball down. They were both immense. Esterhuizen just slightly more immense this week. What a performance from him. Right, AJ Bell, Sale against Wasps.
Sale have done well there.
Wasps began the game very nicely indeed, thank you very much. Bit of luck. I mean, the ball comes out from Hugard here and basically the Sale defence moves up quickly, affects the hit and the ball spills out. And Wasps, yes, they're lucky to get the ball back, but they do deal with it particularly well, especially Francois Hugard with his second and third involvements. And actually, Ali Crosdale does well to give that and not go himself. Gives it to Josh Bassett. Really nice try, really nicely worked. But you sort of know what's coming with Sale Sharks. A lot of raw power. Wasps do have a couple of very powerful individuals, but overall, I think Sale just had too much beef for them. The top teams seem able to deal with this at the moment. The teams below the top 2 or 3 don't actually, and that's a very, very Sale Sharks try indeed. You kind of know the drill at that point. You know what's coming, but dealing with it and stopping it is a very different thing. This is Tom Curry getting not lucky. I think, no, I'm going to say lucky. It was a brilliant take, really good hands, good athleticism, but you see why the referee and his assistants and his TMO want to look at this. Look at that right leg. You're not allowed to do that. I'm really, really surprised that try got given. I think without sticking my neck on the line too aggressively, that is not a try. Obviously it's 2022, so we had 73 looks at it, but it was pretty obvious from replay number 1 that it wasn't a try, except it was given. Wasps didn't die without a fight. They didn't go easily into the night. Is that what they say? Just keep your eyes on Jimmy Gopperth, number 10. Just a really good line. Just a really, really good, simple line. Making difficult things look very easy, as he has done for a long time. But Sale Sharks, in the end, comfortable winners over Wasps. Too much power. On Twitter after that game, Mark DeRose, a Wasp fan, said, not a great result today, but Nizam Carr put a shift in today. Real positive to take away. Yeah, he was good. So was Alfie Barbary, actually. And Chris Rugby said this. I like this tweet. Wasps seem to have very little variation in attack today. Far too predictable for the Sale defence. This, along with their handling errors and penalties, means they have no chance of winning this match. Chris is dealing in facts. He's dealing in facts, telling you exactly who it is. Thank you, Chris. We should have called it off at half-time, really, Chris. If anyone had read that sooner, would have saved everyone the bother. Right, let's have a quick look. We're almost halfway through the season now, so let's have a quick look at some of the stuff, some of the teams, and some of the people that have been hot so far, and some of the teams, some of the people that have been not. Now, it doesn't take a rugby expert to notice that Marcus Smith has been impressive. Of course, he's been impressive. Everyone knows he's been impressive. The flashy bits we all love, the offloads, the footwork, the cheeky chips, the clever kicking game. We all love all that. I like the bravery in defence. There are still 1 or 2 players running around in certain positions, fly half being one of them, who don't love tackling, and he is not one of them. A coward he is not. Brave bloke, not a big bloke, but a brave one, and seems to get better, actually get better when the pressure comes on. The thing is, for my money, he is still the second best fly half in the Premiership, because George Ford is the best. Massive news for Leicester Tigers that he's leaving. Arguably, not arguably, their best player. He is the best player in what currently is the best team in England by a stretch. He's been just wonderful, whatever the conditions. He offers a masterclass at least once a fortnight, more like every week. There's nothing he can't do. He is a wonderful fly half, one of the best England have ever had. And if you disagree, email me, fax me. Rafi Quirk, every bit as hard to deal with, maybe even harder to deal with. Young, not played many games, sitting behind one of the top scrum halves in the world game up at Sale Sharks, and still justifies, even when Faf de Klerk is there, Rafi Quirk still justifies a lot of game time each week. A future England star, no doubt. Leicester Tigers, of course, unbeatable in the Gallagher Premiership, playing some great stuff. Up front, they're getting back to what Leicester used to be. They're confrontational, they're efficient, they've got a load of big ball carriers in there. Steve Borthwick's recruitment has been outstanding. Some really powerful units there. But creatively, yes, it all seems to revolve around George Ford and he's leaving, but he hasn't left yet. He's still there. They are favourites for the title. They're playing some wonderful stuff, and they got Freddie Stewart, who has pretty much booked himself into the England team for the next 25 years. Bristol have looked almost nothing like the team we saw get to the semi-finals and go 28-0 up against Harlequins last season. They haven't looked awful or anything like that. They've just looked relatively easy to play against. In attack, which was kind of their thing, they're not really holding the defenders, certainly sort of defenders 3, 4, 5, they're not really holding those as they were. You feel like they might start cooking a bit. You feel like they're the sort of team with so much talent and belief and so many smiles in there that they might click, and I still feel like they will. I still expect them to play brilliant rugby every time I turn the TV on and watch them, or turn up to a rugby ground and watch them, but they haven't clicked yet. They've clicked a lot better than Bath have, though, to be fair. Poor old Bath, they had a review done, and the review concluded that they needed a new defence coach. The thing is, most defence coaches, most top defence coaches are in contracts. They have signed a defence coach. We don't know a huge amount about him. You'd imagine the guys at Bath Rugby do. But to imagine that a defence coach comes in and the defence just overnight, or at least in the course of a match or two, reinvents itself is unrealistic. It just doesn't happen. Bath are really, really struggling. They're struggling to score lots of points. They're struggling for a platform up front. They're struggling to stop people shredding them. It is just a brutal time. The win will come. It will come. There are too many good players. There are too many good players to come back from injury for Bath not to win games. But at the moment, it just must be a horrible place to be. On the occasion of his 100th start for Leicester Tigers, George Ford, nice easy 3-pointer to settle the nerves, although I bet there weren't any nerves. And guess what? He was so not nervous that he went on to be brilliant again. Here's an example of his brilliance. Not the line out. He's not involved in the line out. Line out nicely won. Horrible conditions. Absolutely rank. Look at this from George Ford. Incredibly simple. Nightmare for Joel Hodgson, with which he fails to deal. Matt Scott profits. And the thing is, guys, it looks so simple. It's a simple skill. It's brilliantly executed. But if it's that easy, why ain't all the fly halves doing it every week? Why aren't they? It's prep. It's analysis of defence. It's skill to execute. Get the ball to land exactly where you want it. It's brilliant. This guy's brilliant too. Radwan in a bit of space. Few more exciting sights in the Premiership, but Freddie Stewart ends up with a relatively easy tackle to make, and there was no one who could quite keep up with Radwan, was there, on the Newcastle team. This scrum particularly impressive because on one flank you got a fullback, on the other flank you got a hooker. So the front five, they're not on their own, but they're probably not getting the sort of support they're used to getting. So that scrum was particularly impressive on their own 22 for Leicester Tigers. That's just Leicester doing good Leicester stuff. And you couldn't call it a great watch. There was some high quality stuff, but it was largely reasonably workmanlike on a horrible day. Leicester didn't seem to mind too much, but there were some lovely little moments. This is a nice crossfield kick from Freddie Burns to Potter, who does really, really well. Sort of hard off the right foot, hard off the left, through the chicane and into score. But just watch Mike Brown, first defender, his right arm almost actually helps Potter get away from Radwan, almost whips him round into the right position. In the end, a very comfortable win indeed. Yet social media quite interesting after that game. Callum said, as more of a footy fan than rugby, what changed for the Tigers for this level of improvement? Were they just properly underperforming, or was it something else? It was something else. I mean, they were underperforming as well. But as someone who played rugby with a very long time with Steve Borthwick and played for a good amount of time against Steve Borthwick arriving will 99.999% of the time make your rugby club a better rugby club, make your team a better team, make everything better. He just knows his stuff. And as an ex-Bath player, not that you asked, the biggest mistake Bath Rugby ever made was letting that man leave the building. Second biggest mistake, letting Danny Grewcock leave the building. Those two guys in there doing whatever jobs, not necessarily director of rugby, whatever the jobs would have been, they were two guys you could not let leave, and they're not there anymore. And there you are. Steve Borthwick was always going to make a massive difference, and he has. Comprehensive loss there, says a Newcastle fan, Jamie Tomlinson. Regroup and back at it next weekend. Need to find a way to get Radders into the action a bit more. Yeah, basically, give the ball to... He's like LeBron James, just give the ball to LeBron. And Tim Hutchins said this, 11 from 11, bonus point and a clean sheet. But I worry about our over-reliance on Ford for everything creatively. If he's absent and an opposition can successfully defend our power game, how are we scoring? That is a really interesting question. Of course, Freddie Burns does some lovely stuff when he comes on, and your power game will get you a long way because you've got a lot of powerful guys there. Your set piece is excellent, defence is excellent. I don't think there are many worries, but how do you replace George Ford? Andre Pollard, World Cup winning fly half, the guy who's shredded the All Blacks in his, in relatively recent rugby past. This is the top of the range player. It's probably the guy. If you could pick anyone to sign, it's probably the guy. He will no doubt be excellent for Leicester Tigers, but at the moment, I think George Ford is as close to irreplaceable as a Gallagher Premiership player could be. He's as close as a player could be. He's just in sensational form. Not necessarily flamboyant, flashy form. He can do that stuff, but the way he runs a game and gets the best out of the assets around him, I think at this stage, at the moment, it's unrivaled. Right up to the Midlands, where Northampton welcomed Saracens, the Saracens juggernaut. Could they stop them? I think you might know the answer by now, but if you don't, the answer is...
Collects Mitchell.
Good early promise from Northampton Saints actually on a horrible day. Slight home streaking through, just like his old man did 1 or 2 times after a few beers and on rugby fields. Saracens ultimately had too much, but Northampton were always going to threaten given the shot. Some of Saracens' build-up play was reasonably rudimentary. Got to be close to a turnover there, Matavesi, but Saracens play on, and Alex Good does really, really nicely at fly half to get the ball away now for Lazowski, who was, for my 20 quid, the best player on the field at the weekend. Really, really nicely got away. Strong line, strong support line from Lazowski. Just a good number of guys that are very used to playing together, know exactly what they're about, expect good quality ball and it arrives. How about this from Furbank? 10 yards, 15 yards out from his own line, gives it the slight home. It puts the burners on. Just about caught, but it's incredibly exciting stuff. Now this is Courtney Laws, one of the best players in the world. There is a reason he doesn't play scrum half. That is, the local farmer would be happy with that if his muck spreader chucked out garbage like that. And you joke, Courtney, just a joke. It's just a mistake from one of the best players around. But loads of ambition from Northampton, absolutely loads of it. But ultimately, Saracens had too much. This is them putting a squeeze on, turning the screw, call it what you want, but there's a lot of power going on. Northampton are conceding yards the whole time. And when Maratoji gets his hands on the ball, it's game over. Really, Maratoji, as a pundit, you want to pick someone or something that nobody's seen to make you seem clever. You don't need me to tell you that Maratoji is a special player. On this day at Franklin's Gardens, he was so good you almost couldn't believe it, and you realise he plays that well most weeks, or at least very often. A wonderful, wonderful player. We're lucky to have him. Maratoji not getting that many mentions. People must just get used to his excellence. I mean, he was outrageous. Rugby Saracens, outstanding second half. A major win based on rock-solid defence, locking out the Saints' attack and then cutting loose to score 3 tries. Alex Lazowski, player of the match, again building quite a collection of those Prem Rugby game medals. Yeah, he's going all right for medals, isn't he? What a player. And in a couple of different positions too. Now, the last game was meant to be London Irish against Bath at the Brentford Community Stadium, of course. That was called off because of COVID. I did, though, a couple of days ago in Bath see Brad Davis, who was the defence coach at Bath when I was there. Love him. Great coach, brilliant bloke. Loved working with him. He's now the London Irish defence coach, and I did make the joke to him. I said to him, Brad, Bath are going to beat someone at some point, mate. Is it going to be you? Is the Bath attack going to beat your defence? Is this the one? You can't be the team to be the first to lose, mate. You'll never recover. And I said it as a joke. Brad didn't laugh. Brad didn't laugh at all. So things were getting serious. Anyway, that was called off. Lots of chat on YouTube. We always welcome your comments. We welcome the nice ones. The nasty ones we just delete, pretend they don't exist, block you and report you to the police. But Mike Williams says this. Along with the good, the bad and the rugby, this has been one of the YouTube finds for me in 2021. Thanks. Mike, the good, the bad and the rugby guys, you wouldn't like them. If you met them, you wouldn't like them. They, you know, they're nice to animals, but they don't like the old. Okay, they don't do anything for charity. They do actually do some stuff. Tyndall, you wouldn't like him. Really entitled bloke, married well. No, he's a nice bloke as well. Haskell calls himself Marmite. Really, if you know him, you just love him. You can't not love him. Alex Payne, evil bloke. You can tell a mile off. Evil bloke, evil guy, nasty guy. Even though he's really nice too. So yeah, fine, watch it. You're better off with flats and shanks though. Robert said this, going to be quite a scrap for top 4. Leicester, Sarries and Quins all look good. Between Exeter, best all round, Saints, best attack, and Gloucester, best set piece, who do you think will take 4th? Chiefs. That's who I think. Right, that's it for this first episode of The Lowdown for 2022. Cracking 5 games, sure you'll agree. Horrible conditions, but some great rugger played. Really enjoyed it, hope you did too. You know what to do, hit the like, subscribe, comment, hit the bell so you get the notifications and the videos just arrive on your device. I think that's how it works. We'll see you next week for more of the same, but different, you know what I mean.